The focus of this presentation is Mount Sunapee's unique and magnificent forests. It is the story of enduring forests whose existence has been managed by natural processes since the last ice age. It is also the story of the only exemplary forested system of its type in New Hampshire. It is indeed a treasure in our own backyard. America's first national parks and national forests had come into being. Likewise, in New Hampshire in the early 1900s, there was a movement to create a national forest reservation because of extensive damage to statewide watersheds resulting from unregulated cutting of forests in the White Mountains. It was in this context that the eventual call to preserve Mount Sunapee's forests would emerge. Citizens across the U.S. had become informed and engaged through literature, paintings, and photographs about the necessity of preserving special places. Herbert Welsh, born in 1851, was a Native American rights and government reform advocate. He would later become the president of the Sunapee chapter of the Society for the Protection of New Hampshire Forests and would lead that organization for the next 20 years. Although a resident of Pennsylvania, he spent his summer months in Sunapee, New Hampshire, with family. In the fall of 1909, lumbermen began to cut off the remaining timber that covered the north side of Mount Sunapee. The mountain was about to become bare and its soil exposed to drought and erosion. Welsh's campaign to protect Mount Sunapee was a response to the clear-cutting on the mountain, which was destroying the mountain's natural beauty and natural heritage, including primeval forest. Welsh then contacted Philip Ayers, here pictured in the center, who was working as a forester on behalf of the Society for the Protection of New Hampshire Forests. Welsh aroused his Sunapee neighbors, many of whom were packing up their seasonal homes to solicit donations for his campaign. Many of Welsh's Sunapee neighbors, who were among the Forest Society's most active members, had no idea who owned the land, what it was worth, and which parcels to purchase. They turned to Philip Ayers, who was actively engaged in delineating the boundaries for what was to become the White Mountain National Forest. By 1911, Welsh, working with Ayers and the Forest Society, orchestrated the purchase of 656 acres, including primeval forest, which became the Society's first forest reservation. The reservation, plus future additional land acquisitions, would later form the core of Mount Sunapee State Park, which was created in 1948. The following is a description of the Sunapee Reservation from the Manual of Mount Sunapee, published in 1915 by the Forest Society. 8 miles of trails have been constructed, 5 springs of water have been discovered and opened up, and an out-of-doors stone fireplace has been made at Lake Solitude. The fireplace is at the foot of the bluff below the White Rocks. The Forest Society's Sunapee chapter, under Welsh's leadership, published the Manual of Mount Sunapee. It provided the first detailed geological and environmental survey of Mount Sunapee. Philip Ayers was the editor. In 1915, Ayers drafted this profile map that was included in the Manual of Mount Sunapee. Note the inclusion of old-growth and primeval forest. Ayers defined a primeval forest as one in which no work has been done with the axe, Not even the underbrush has been cut away. By 1948, the Forest Society's Sunapee Reservation formed the core acreage of what was soon to become Mount Sunapee State Park. In March of 1948, the state of New Hampshire acquired 1,624 acres of land from the Forest Society and private landholders to create Mount Sunapee State Park. Without formal protection, and with the memory of the ancient forests faded, the state began development of the ski area in Mount Sunapee State Park. It wasn't until 1987, with the passage of the New Hampshire Native Plant Protection Act, that the state began to consider the environmental implications of development. In the spring of 1997, 50 years after the establishment of Mount Sunapee State Park, Chris Kane, a graduate student from Antioch College in Keene, New Hampshire, while working as an intern with the state, followed up a hunch and hiked up Mount Sunapee in search of possible old-growth forest. Kane had developed a method for identifying potential old forest, and Mount Sunapee seemed to fit all the requirements. Kane's rediscovery of Sunapee's old forests in 1997 prompted the interest of the state of New Hampshire's Natural Heritage Bureau, which over the course of the next 20 years documented Mount Sunapee's exceptional forests in a series of reports. The Natural Heritage Bureau is part of New Hampshire's Division of Forest and Lands within the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources. The Bureau helps the state and private landowners to make informed decisions about land use. It maintains a comprehensive database of New Hampshire's threatened, endangered, and rare native plants and natural communities. The Bureau began its inventory work in 1987 with the passage of the New Hampshire Native Plant Protection Act. The first published Natural Heritage Bureau report regarding Mount Sunapee State Park occurred after the state-run ski area was leased to Okemo Mountain Incorporated in 1998. The original leased area comprised 968 of the 2,962-acre park. The reports were intended to inform land use decisions for the ski area and to facilitate conservation of New Hampshire's biodiversity and the ecological processes that maintain it. From 1999 to 2015, the New Hampshire Natural Heritage Bureau issued a series of reports with management recommendations regarding the natural heritage features both within and outside the leased area of Mount Sunapee State Park. Combining field study with historical research, the Bureau was able to document Sunapee's old forest, surrounding mature forest, and forest community types. Although the Bureau could only make recommendations, the conclusions were consistent throughout the years, with each report reinforcing the previous one. New information with each succeeding report expanded the area of exemplary occurrences, culminating in the 2004 report, which delineated Mount Sunapee's exemplary natural community system of 484 acres, the only forested system of its type that is exemplary in the state of New Hampshire. This map shows the exemplary forest and its relationship to the leased area of Mount Sunapee State Park. The green area in the center of the map is Mount Sunapee's exemplary forest. The leased area is outlined with blue dotted lines. The orange area on the left-hand side of the map represents the expanded lease area resulting from a lawsuit filed by the then leaseholder, Okemo Mountain Incorporated. Here is a brief summary of Natural Heritage Bureau's findings and recommendations. The 1999 New Hampshire Natural Heritage Bureau report made as its top resource management recommendation to protect in perpetuity the entire mosaic of forest types, including old growth, and to conduct a complete forest and natural features inventory at Mount Sunapee State Park. To date, neither of these recommendations has been followed. In 2003, the Bureau recommended the creation of a natural area within Mount Sunapee State Park with the provision that there be no tree harvest or any artificial manipulation of the land and its vegetation. The recommended natural area was never created. These two maps illustrate the expanded area of exemplary forest from 2003 to 2004. The map on the left shows the proposed natural area from the 2003 East Bowl Natural Heritage Bureau report. The map on the right shows added areas of exemplary forest from the 2004 Natural Heritage Bureau report of the proposed ski lease expansion area. The 2004 Natural Heritage Bureau report resulted in three significant findings: the designation of Mount Sunapee's forest communities as an exemplary system, the addition of another forest community type to previous studies, and it connected the Sunapee system with a 30,000-acre Pillsbury-Sunapee Highlands corridor, concluding that, quote, large intact systems are more resistant to impacts from natural disturbance, insects, disease, and human disturbance. To date, Mount Sunapee's Northern Hardwood Conifer Exemplary Natural Community System is the only exemplary system of its type in New Hampshire. Exemplary is the highest quality ranking that can be conferred upon a natural community. By statute, only Natural Heritage Bureau can make this designation. Exemplary is also a legal term embodied in the Native Plant Protection Act. Quote, to the extent possible, actions funded or carried out by state agencies shall not jeopardize the continued existence of any protected plant species or exemplary natural community. Mount Sunapee's unique exemplary natural community system is composed of three interdependent core elements: old forest, natural communities, and the surrounding mature forest. It is the combination of these three core elements, plus the system's size, overall condition, and landscape context, that gives the forest its unique status as an exemplary system. Diminishment of any of these elements poses a threat to the continued existence of this unique system. In the following slides, we will be taking a look at each core element and how it plays a part in Mount Sunapee's unique exemplary forested system. New Hampshire's old-growth forests are valuable and endangered natural ecosystems. Old forests, known as old-growth, virgin, primeval, or ancient forests, have escaped harvesting or other significant human modification over the last 350 years and cover less than 0.1% of the state. New Hampshire's Natural Heritage Bureau confirmed the old forest on Mount Sunapee in January of 1998. The Bureau's published report in January of 1999, Old Forests and Rare Plants at the Mount Sunapee Ski Lease Area, confirmed and expanded upon Chris Kane's original findings of 1997. Old forests represent less than 1/10 of 1% of New Hampshire's total forested area. Mount Sunapee contains as much as 10% of all the documented old-growth forest in New Hampshire. Old-growth forests are our legacies. They represent the natural heritage of a state that was once almost completely forested. They harbor a wealth of biodiversity that can be lost if the forests are unnaturally altered. Mount Sunapee's Old Forest is a core component of the 484-acre exemplary natural community system. The old-growth forest at Sunapee is on public land. It belongs to everyone in the state of New Hampshire. It is also easily accessible, unlike other areas of old growth in New Hampshire. If left intact, it will be an enduring inheritance for future generations. Natural communities form a mosaic across the landscape. In the case of Mount Sunapee, these communities take the form of forests. The ecological processes in one community influence those in neighboring communities. Land managers therefore cannot consider a given natural community occurrence in isolation. There are 3 forested natural communities within the exemplary northern hardwood conifer forest system. It is the combination of these natural communities that makes Sunapee's forest unique. High elevation, spruce fir. Northern hardwood, spruce fir. And finally, sugar maple, beech, yellow birch forest. Mature forest. The surrounding mature forest has 2 critically important functions within Mount Sunapee's exemplary forested system. It acts as a protective buffer to the old forest areas, and over time will acquire old forest characteristics of its own. Although documented by the state of New Hampshire, Mount Sunapee's exemplary forested system has not been granted any formal protective status. Despite earlier recommendations by Natural Heritage Bureau to permanently protect Mount Sunapee's unique forests, approved plans within the leased area of the park would eliminate parts of Mount Sunapee's exemplary natural community system and threaten areas of designated old forest. The primeval Mount Sunapee forest has evolved the resilience to sustain natural disturbances, including fire, drought, hurricanes, ice storms, and insect infestations. But the permanent fragmentation of the forest into islands between open trails and a lift line are a different matter. The detrimental effects of such fragmentation are predictable and well documented. Over the years, lessees have sought and been granted a number of expansions that, if enacted, would permanently impair and degrade this precious forest area. This slide shows previously approved but not yet implemented plans with direct impact to Mount Sunapee's exemplary forest. The widening of Porky's Trail access road would directly impact old forest areas. The cataract lift and other clearing on the side of North Peak would create further fragmentation. The Westville chairlift would eliminate 2 forest communities from the exemplary system and reduce its size, changing 2 defining elements of this system forever. This aerial view of Mount Sunapee's exemplary forest shows it in context to the developed ski area. At this point in time, there are no impacts to existing ski operations. Mount Sunapee's exemplary natural community system represents a unique and thus irreplaceable part of New Hampshire's human and natural heritage. It is a critical part of both the human and natural history of this region of New Hampshire. From its beginnings as Forest Society's first forest reservation to its documentation by the state of New Hampshire as the only exemplary natural community system of its type in the state, these forests represent the best of New Hampshire's natural heritage. The permanent protection of Mount Sunapee's exemplary forest will not impact existing ski operations on Mount Sunapee and will provide the public with an enduring inheritance for future generations, thus fulfilling the sacred trust for which our state park was intended. These forests have existed for thousands of years without human disturbance. They are representative of the last remnants of original forest in the state of New Hampshire. They are part of a larger, mature forest system that ensures their survival. They have evolved the resilience to sustain natural disturbances, including fire, drought, hurricane, ice storms, and insect infestations. They are irreplaceable. Please join with us to save this magnificent forest.